Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Blacknificent show. I'm your host, Thabo Ramogayane, and today we have our brother here. I'll allow him to introduce himself so that we get to know him. But before we get to know who our guest is and what he's all about, our topic today is the crisis of fatherlessness in the Black community. And so, before we go further with this, I would like our guest here, our brother Derek Magola. Can you just please introduce yourself to us and let the viewers of the Blacknificent get to know you?
Thank you, Mr. Thabo. And thank you for having me. My name is Derek Magola, from Limpopo, Tlinkawi, in Sekhukhune, to be specific. And let me not disclose my age. I was born on the 21st of March, just after Mandela was released in prison. So you're gonna guess my age, but I'm not comfortable disclosing it. It's okay. So Derek Magola is a writer. He has published 3 books. The first book was a very religious book entitled The God I Never Knew. It was published in 2017. And then 2018, I also published another book, which is The Disqualified Genius. And in 2020, I also published my latest book entitled The Crisis of Fatherlessness. I think it's a relevant book for our topic for this evening. Besides writing, I studied electrical engineering, but my passion is in speaking and writing. So that's me.
No, okay, thank you so much. Yeah, I was hoping you're gonna really tell us about you being a writer. So one of the things that we do in this show, we really are spotlighting Black excellence and engaging on issues that are really affecting the Black society in our time. And it's quite interesting that I think today we are kindly having both in a way where we are really appreciating the good work that you are doing as an author, and as well as the conversation that you actually have provoked with your book. Before we go any further, is now we know that you've just authored this book titled The Crisis of Fatherlessness. What really inspired you to write the book, and how was the journey when you were writing the book? Derek, do you hear me? Can you hear me? I'm saying, I think there was.
Yeah, I can hear you now, but I did not hear what you were saying before.
I'm saying that now that you're an author, like that you wrote this book, The Crisis of Fatherlessness, what inspired you to write the book, and how was the journey throughout your writing experience?
To be honest with you, I never thought that it was in me to write. I think I started writing when I was when I graduated from tertiary. It was not something which I had when I maybe it was in primary or secondary, because I didn't think that, you know, a black child from an ordinary high school could be penning down some stuff and publish, you know, a really good work. So what really pushed me to start writing was, man, I had an untold story. I felt that there's some stuff which I wanna, you know, cough out. I felt that there are some things which I need to disclose to people. And besides speaking, in which ways can I reach people? Can people get to hear or know my message? That's when now I was having a passion for writing. I started writing, you know. And even though when I started writing, it was which I could say this is good material. You know, there's no one who's perfect, but I tried to perfect my craft. And okay, one thing which I always did was I read a lot. I am a person who reads books. I read a lot of books. So books like Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, um, uh, uh, The Spirit of Leadership by Dr. Miles Monroe, such books
How did it come about? What pushed you to pen this book down?
Oh, The Crisis of Fatherlessness is the most emotional book of all books which I have written. Um, I wrote it from a personal experience. I wrote it from, you know, a bleeding heart. I wrote it, you know, longing for something, you know. As I was growing up, I felt that there's something which is missing in my life. And when I tried to diagnose what that thing was, I ended up figuring that it is the absence of a father in my life. And I saw that there are many things which I did not understand, things, you know, pertaining to masculinity. The things which I don't understand pertaining to masculinity. I ended up penning down something about this, because I saw that fatherlessness is indeed a crisis, not only in South Africa, but in the entire globe. It is indeed a crisis. I read books such as Fathered by God by John Eldridge, and some other material pertaining to this crisis. And then I got to understand that indeed this thing is a crisis. So that's what made me to end up writing, because I linked it with my pain.
So it means, so you are telling us that it has to do with your experience.
Yes, sir.
Your experience as you were growing up. Now,
Yes, sir.
ask this. I mean, Statistics SA released a what they call the Children's Education and Well-being in South Africa report, and in that report they found that about 70% of uh, black children are without fathers, or rather have absent fathers. And with the counterpart, with which it was white people, I think it was only less than 30% of those were actually white people. So why are we so having many absent fathers in our black community?
Oh, there are so many reasons which contributes to the absence of fathers in our families. One of the things, of course, if I can mention them one by one. One of the things which contributes to fatherlessness, it's divorce in the Black community. Divorce plays a very huge role, and another reason is infidelity, which we can say perhaps cheating, and then people end up and not living together, and all of these things. Another factor is rape. Rape is real, because you'd find that how he doesn't have enough time to can uh, father his children, so he becomes an absent father while he's still alive. So there's so many reasons which contributes to this factor.
So on your in your story, in your personal story, what was the case, if there were?
Wow, in my personal story, well, I grew up knowing that my dad was dead. In fact, my first chapter in my book is "Dad's Not Dead." So I grew up knowing that the gentleman is dead. That's what at least my mother, said to me, and that's what everybody knew. Derek doesn't have a father because his father is no more, 6 feet underground. And little did I know that it was not so. So when I was growing up at the age of 22, 21, 22, that's when I started to know that no, um, the gentleman is not dead. He's still alive, capable of shouldering the capabilities of a father. He just decided not to father me, so he has another family. So I would say that those are problems between parents, and unfortunately, myself and my siblings got involved in it, and we got affected by whatever reasons which we do not know, that they might have separated, and we remained unfathered up till today.
So what we understand that the whole myth, as you are talking about the absence of his presence, or the absent father, it's always related to your father being absent and not being there, like altogether, like he was not there altogether, like you're saying that you only knew him as dead. So that's how you grew up knowing that you don't have a father. Now, I want you to look into what do you think about father who are present but are emotionally absent? And does the effect of a present father who's emotionally absent plays out the same with the one that the one that it's altogether absent?
A present father who's absent, uh, I'd begin by who's emotionally disengaged, right?
Yes.
Yes. I would begin by saying that it is not enough for you to be there while you are emotionally disengaged, because fatherhood is not only by just being there physically. There are many things which you should contribute as a father, which you spend, in particular your children. And if those things are not shown, or if those things are not extended, then you're good as dead, because you might be there while the children are craving for your emotional presence, while your children are craving for some education which you would have extended to them, especially boys, because like it or not, even though our mothers might be present, even though our mothers might try by all means to teach us everything and anything, they will never, and they can't teach us everything and anything, because it is not in their nature to can give us those things. I grew up in a family where we were nurtured by a mother. She did all she could, but still, I felt that I still lack something. There's something which is insufficient in me. I need a teaching. I need an education. I need something to be bestowed or to be deposited into my soul by a father. So if a father is there but does not deposit certain things that pertains to fatherhood, he's good as dead.
So based on your experience, what in particular can you say are those things that you felt like you needed them to be deposited on you? Like you feel like this can only could have done by my father and it has affected me. And if it has affected you, how has it affected you? How are you taking it from now where you are now?
Number one, a proper father, man, should be. I think even when God created a man, he made him to be a teacher. You get what I'm saying? A father is a teacher in his household. So there's an education which I've missed pertaining to masculinity. So there are things which were confusing to me, and I did not even have answers to that confusion had my father been there. You get what I'm saying? So education, um, I want to know what a real man is. I want to know what a man is. I want to know how, to treat women. We are now facing gender-based violence as a country, and some of the reason is because of these men are not well taught. You get what I'm saying? So education, I lacked proper education.
So do you think it's something that right now when you look back, you feel like that education could have helped you to even be a better person that you are today?
Most definitely, it would have contributed immensely. Well, at least I got to meet people that tried to impart that little education that I needed. I read books, I listened to people on television, and I met people that tried to even father me, even though it's not enough because they don't live with me. So had he been there, I think I would have been far, very far.
So what do you think the impact of an absent father, whether it's emotional absence or whether it's absence altogether, how much how much of an effect does the absence of a father has on a boy child, and does that mean it is more than it has on a girl child, or is it the same? Can you just tell us what you think about that?
All right, thank you for that question. When I was writing my book, I did not want to be biased, especially on gender, because fatherlessness, it affects both genders. There's a way in which it affects a girl child, and there's a way also it affects a boy child. But now the one who suffers more is boy, because boy child, know, to a father in the future. As I've said before, he needs the education that comes from no, but that comes from a man who is his father. So it affects a boy child more, because a boy child will never know that what a man is, because he never saw anyone being a man. You get what I'm saying? What he saw, it was just a woman in the house, and he doesn't even know what is right and what is wrong with regards to a manhood.
So you think that is how even you can look at how the traditional masculinity narrative of hegemonic masculinity, whereby as little boys you grow up that boys don't cry, boys will always remain boys, and you find that you don't see an example of a man, whether it's in the house, who opens up, and only to find out that later on in life when you grow up, you're actually challenged to start speaking, to start opening up to when you get married, having to open up to your wife, having to open up so that you heal even from certain childhood traumas you've been through. So now if you can, in the way from where you've been, how have you managed to deal with all the struggles that where you did not have to have a father who teaches you, a father who leads you, who affirms you? How have you how were you able through that struggle to actually find your voice and be able to open up in a way that you end up writing the experience down? I think it's not easy to have to communicate where you have been and what you have been struggling with in terms of the topic that we're talking about. So how have you done that? Did you do that on your own, or there were other father figures perhaps that came in and played the role while you believe that your father was deceased?
It was a struggle. It was a struggle, to be honest. It was trial and error. We grew up under certain, teachings or education, and some of the education is distorted, as you are saying that we grew up knowing that a man doesn't cry. I mean, who said that? A man should be like this. A man should be like that. It's just a distorted information. And if you don't get a proper teacher who's a father, you might end up growing with that teaching, and even extending it to your children, and your children also extend it to their children. So it's a problem. So as I was growing up, I then realized that since there's no father around me, what is it that I can do that can help me to at least know what is required of me as a boy, or as a boy who's about to be a man. So as I've alluded before, that I started buying books. I read a lot of books on masculinity. I read a lot of books on fatherhood. I read a lot of books on identity, and I watched pastors who had good doctrines, and when you go to church, you find men there who some are willing to take you under their arm. So it was just a journey, really. It was just a journey, and trial and error. Even now, it is still trial and error. There's some things which I still do, which perhaps I don't do right, and then I would be maybe watching somebody from a distance and said, "No, that man inspires me, but he does not live like I do. It means I should change the way I'm living. No, but that man inspires me. He speaks in this manner or in this fashion, and I don't speak like him." So I begin to emulate everything that the person, maybe he might be on TV or whatever, who inspires me. So it is just a struggle, and yeah, a combination of many things, which uh, ends up making me the person that I am today.
So with what you are actually saying saying now, you said you really went out in terms of listening to people very close, maybe like a pastor, like a man that really actually played that father figure role?
Whew. Unfortunately, no. There was one which I thought is my mentor, but little did I know that he was not really my mentor, and um, things were not just were not right between us. So we ended up going separate ways, and it's fine. He was a good man, and he's still a good man. And uh, what I can say is I never had anyone personally. I never had maybe a grandfather, or in fact, I don't even know my grandfather because this is a long time ago. I don't have a father. There was no one. It is just me who went an extra mile. And, yeah.
So even from the church where you've been, you never was very close in terms of.
No, never had any.
We look at fatherlessness in there's an African saying that says it takes a village to.
Yes.
And I believe those Ubuntu philosophies that are idiocentric in Africa, to which you can go anywhere in the world. I don't think the concept of Ubuntu, to say umuntu ungumuntu ngabantu, really exists. Can you say in your own life that you felt the essence of having been raised by the village?
Very protected, because it's not easy. Remember, would be sitting with me things which pertain to but I wouldn't. Men only, or perhaps we'll have a woman only, a husband or a wife. When God created a family, he meant both the father and the mother, along with the children. So if now a family does not have a father, or if a family does not have a mother, that family is imbalanced. Like it or not, it is indeed imbalanced, because there's a portion is not there, it becomes imbalanced.
Okay, I want us to go here because I want us to close. I want us to go here. I think one thing that people for now will be asking questions and want to understand it's the exact the exact roles or the exact character to which a father brings into a family that a mother would never do, regardless of whether she's good and she's loving and she's all that. But now I want you to respond to this one when now we talk about the remodeling, the reconstruction of fatherhood. I think it's in your subtitle in the book. You talk about remodeling the fatherhood. What does it mean to remodel and restructure fatherhood? And what does fatherhood mean in our generation? And bear in mind, we are talking about the importance of a father to which no mother can contribute except that they allow a father figure to come in. So can you just briefly engage us on that note?
I'm not sure if I got your question.
My question is, we know that a father, as you are saying, that a house without a father, it's imbalance.
Yes.
So I'm saying we want to discuss with you now what is it that makes it imbalance in terms of something that the mother will never do, that only can be done by the father. But for you to answer that, I want us to talk about the remodeling and the restructuring of fatherhood, to say how should fatherhood be structured in this generation in a way that men will play a role that only them can play in the lives of their children. So what does it mean to be a father in this generation? Derek? Ladies and gentlemen, we just had a technical glitch, but we'll do just the last questions of the conversation that we're just having now. Welcome back, Mr. Derek. Now, the question that we want to close the show with, so that people get to grasp the solution and what should be done with the crisis of fatherlessness. What is it that in your book you bring out and you converse, you challenge us as a solution to fatherlessness, or to this crisis of fatherlessness?
As I've mentioned before, that there are many people there are many men who walked this path before us, and those men are, positive fathers, fathers who were family conscious, were not only hunting money and abandoning their families, but they were also money hunting while family conscious. They were in sync with their families. There were men who were not violent, or there are men who are not violent. They are great teachers in their families. So the solution is, let us just find at least one person that we can emulate in order for us to transform whatever teaching which we have got about fatherhood. And another thing is, if you don't have a father, at least try to find yourself somebody who's a man, at least a responsible man that can at least deposit some qualities which you may need as a boy who's about to be a man. Or at least if you are a father, adopt a boy child that you can train to be a better man. At least teach the child, teach the boy child that this is what it means to be a man. This is what it means to be a husband. This is what it means to be a father. And actually, I think if we can have that kind of a society, that kind of a community that takes care of each other. If one family does not have a father, there will be a father. We're not talking about people who are psychotic, people who are going to take advantage of people. We're talking about people that will help people, or help the boy child into being himself, the better version of himself.
So remember, in consideration of the issue of fatherhood, there are a lot of dynamics involved there. And if you are to say to the community that we need to help each other raise fathers need, or men need to rise up and play the part of fatherhood, even in the lives of children that they are not their own. To whose consent do they have to do that? Firstly, and secondly, as you know, that also might suggest that they need to go deep into their pockets. And with the struggle of Black people in terms of, you see, there is the capitalist structures where Black men struggle in terms of unemployment and all that. How do we then say to men in our society they can rise up and really engage in helping the children, even outside, not just their own, but the children of the community, to grow up with father figures? How do you suggest they do that in such a time where they have their struggle? Vis-a-vis when a man really rises up and decides to say, you know what, I'm going back to my child, I'm taking care of my own. So how do you say we deal with both the perspective of a father who then comes in and says, I want to help all fatherless children, and the one that decides to say, I will clean up the house in my own doorstep so that when another one does that, the whole world becomes clean. So how do you engage that contrast?
Well, as much as fatherlessness has become the most destructive trend, as much as the hashtags at Twitter, on Twitter, it's hashtag men are trash, we can still come up with a trend that can benefit our fellow boys, our fellow brothers, and our fellow sisters. Not only does it require financial stability for you to raise somebody, but just your presence. Because, I mean, there are also men, there are also fathers who are there, but they're unemployed. I mean, unemployment in our continent is real, but they are immaculate, they are excellent men, they're raising responsible children, yet they don't have money, yet they don't have, huge bank accounts. You get what I'm saying? So it does not only require finance to do that, just your presence and be helping the boy child with what he might need. That is enough. And to fathers who have abandoned their children, I think this is high time for us to get back to our senses. It doesn't matter what happened between you and the parent of the child, but the most important thing is to know that you are emasculating the child, you are wounding the child. So get back to your senses and go and see the child, despite, regardless of what happened or what transpired between the father and the mother. It is important and it is detrimental for them to go back to their children and father their children. It does not mean that they should get back with their partners. You get what I'm saying? But they can still father their children while they are not in a relationship with their mothers. As much as I've said before, that this thing is a destructive trend. Men are known as trash. Let us therefore, we who can come up with a new trend, that not with my children. Hashtag not me. Let us become better men. Let us become better husbands. Let us become better fathers in our community, because we can. As much as there are these trends which are not right, we can come up with good trends.
So what are your last words as we close?
One last thing which I've forgotten. I don't know in our villages if such things exist, but in America, they have many groups which, a man would come up with a group and would be advising men, would be mentoring men, would be taking these rather boys, would be taking these boys to hiking and having some question and answers that would help them into becoming better men. I think if we can come up with that initiative, that let us come together and see what we can do. If one man can at least adopt 5 boys, that is going to help the entire nation.
Thank you so much, Derek. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you
I
so
hope our viewers really got to understand the importance of a father, and I hope men are watching this and be present in the life of their children, because your kids do not just need you find your money, your emotional presence. They need you to be there. So to all fathers and to all upgrowing, incoming fathers, and to those who are aspiring fathers, we say make sure that when you are present, you are really present in your life. Because as Black people, we remodel of father in our lives. May you all have a blessed night. Thank you, Mr. Eric, for the present.